Hey everybody, it's Friday, 5 minutes late, more or less. I'm still Kevin Murcko though. This is still Coinmetro's AMA. I'm still gonna answer questions. You're still gonna ask them. So all good from those aspects. Live this week from Mexico at a hotel with some funny plates on the wall. So enjoy the scenery. Just gonna jump right into it. Any insight on Parsek's new strategy announced yesterday? To be honest, didn't even see the announcement. So I'll have to dig into that to give some feedback. But if you have some feedback, please post it lower or please post it to wherever you're posting right now on YouTube, I guess. And I can give you a high level overview at least, but haven't seen it yet. You keep our selfies forever. Hey, Bill. So we keep your information on file as per the law, as per regulations, for up to 5 years after you close your account with us. So, or whether it's closed for you by us, or Coinmetro ceased to exist in 2147, or whatever, for 5 years we would legally be obligated to store that information, and then it would get destroyed. Thoughts on the crypto market and the possibility of the Fed ruling out further rate hikes because of Russia and Ukraine? Well, my thought on the crypto market is, to be honest, I expected volatility. I expected volatility on the eventual invasion of Ukraine, and we saw that volatility. Though I believe we're roughly right where we were before the invasion, though we still are below, obviously, where we were previous to the escalation of a possible invasion. So with that. Just make sure. Probably the mic's probably not going to be the best today, just so you guys know, because I am just on a laptop. I don't have an external mic or anything with me here, but hopefully it's okay. Anyway, so Fed ruling out for the rate hikes it's a possibility. It really depends on, look, energy prices have already soared across the world. I think Russia provides something along the lines of 40% of all natural gas to the entire planet. And currently right now, that's just not happening. So other reserves are being tapped into, more expensive transportation methods. All these things are happening, which is causing energy prices, not just for natural gas, to rise all across the world. The oil prices have, I think, surpassed 100 for the first time in years. So with all that in mind, if that were to continue, absolutely, it would slow down the Fed from raising interest rates, because even though inflation might have been pegged at 7.5% in the US, there's obviously inflation in certain sectors like energy, which are far exceeding 7.5. And energy is one of those things that pretty much everybody consumes. And thus it affects everyone. And it affects, rich, poor alike. And so there is, if the Ukraine situation continues and energy is cut off, then we could be seeing months, weeks, months, even longer, of high energy prices, which would absolutely, in my opinion, curtail the Fed from raising interest rates. So good point, to be honest. Many people probably not seeing that, which could potentially be very good for crypto. Hi, Kevin, latest new listing, LTO. What do you think about their project? I gotta be honest, guys, I looked at LTO about, I'm gonna say 3 months ago when it first came across my desk. I believe Oliver is the one who pitched it over, and one of our shareholders, actually. And I looked through it, and it seemed okay to me. I wasn't on the calls this time. I wasn't really on the biz dev team for this listing. So for me right now, I don't have a lot of answers to questions on LTO. But next week I will be much more inclined to answer them, because I will be going through some of the information that our team has gathered before the listing was actually pushed through. Ukraine kaput. Well, yeah. Well, we'll have to see. Look, take this with a grain of salt, because nothing I say means I have the same political ideology or I think these things are correct. But let's analyze without emotion the Ukraine situation, and then we'll tie it back into crypto, just so it makes sense. Because obviously I'm not a politician, and I don't know why I'm talking about politics, but it's just, this is the current situation in the world. So when it comes to Ukraine, you have Russia, who it vehemently never wanted any of the countries that were on its border to join NATO. Why? Well, just like pretty much any other country would not like their, I guess using the word enemies might be a bit too hard, but having, let's call it even their let's just say enemies. I don't even know another word to put on there. So having their enemies encroach onto their border, well, nobody would want that. And so obviously we have Estonia, we have, I keep saying obviously a lot. This is a word today I'm going to try not to use anymore. Estonia, we have Latvia, we have Lithuania. And then obviously not necessarily in the same order, but you have Poland and you have other countries around the area which have all joined NATO, which means that there are troops in those countries at any point in time from the US, from Germany, from the UK, et cetera, NATO members. Ukraine wanted to join NATO. They made that clear years ago. Part of the reason Crimea happened was that Russia didn't want to see Ukraine join NATO. They've been in the country for 8 years. It's not like they didn't encroach before, they've been there. Now there was a lot of heightened pressure for Ukraine to join NATO. Russia then turns off, access to gas to put a little economic pressure, just like the West does sanctions. Russia turns off the energy. That didn't work. They obviously went into negotiations, which were quite asinine, and I don't think either side ever thought that they were going to reach a diplomatic agreement, to be honest, at least not the diplomatic agreement that both sides presented in the beginning. Then what happens? Well, the only option, I guess, in Russia's eyes was war. And now they've annexed or are attempting to annex 2 or 3 other provinces or 2 or 3 other cities that are pro-Russia inside of Ukraine. The goal being, one of the major goals, one is, well, to strong arm the West for energy. The second goal is that they don't want Ukraine to be able to join NATO. And this would pretty much stop Ukraine from joining NATO. That's for sure, because multiple times its borders have been encroached, and now pieces of the country have been annexed to a party that is not in favor of Ukraine joining NATO. So is Ukraine kaput? Well, I think the next few days and weeks are going to tell us exactly. I would have to say that maybe we see a similar situation to what we saw in Crimea, where Ukraine still holds its quote unquote independence, but now there are multiple regions of the country that no longer pledge allegiance to the Ukrainian government and are pledging allegiance to the Russian government, which, to be honest, they kind of already have been for quite some time. So again, I'm not condoning this, but that's essentially a high-level view of what's happening. What that means for crypto, yep, U.S. Feds may stop hiking rates, which definitely would lead to more inflation. Energy prices are going to inflate. That's going to cause prices of all types of things to further inflate on top of what's already happened because of COVID. That inflation will probably, in the long run, in the short, medium, and long run, be beneficial to the crypto markets, even though for now, the volatility is going to follow the equities markets. And in a crisis, historically, traditionally speaking, when there's a crisis like this around the world, some type of geopolitical crisis, people usually go to fixed assets. People will run to cash. They'll run to gold or silver. They put their money into, historically, could have been Swiss francs, Japanese yen, or the US dollar, mainly the US dollar. However, anybody probably 30 or younger is putting a bit of that money into Bitcoin. And anybody older that is a trend follower that looks to see where money flows go might be looking at Bitcoin as well. So we may see a shift in the traditional idea that risk-on assets are not where you want to put your money during times of crisis. Question would be, do they still consider Bitcoin a risk-on asset? I would say that most people do consider it a risk-on asset, even though it's obviously done very well over the last 13 years, or 14 years at this point. So we'll have to see. But Ukraine might be kaput. Right now, I don't think that's going to happen. I tend to think you might see Ukraine still be Ukraine, just with a little less Ukraine, a little less land to call their own. Hey, Kevin, ICP seems to be light years ahead of anything else tech-wise. What are your thoughts on it? You'd have to fill me on ICP because, to be honest, well, somebody here is saying Flux is better than ICP, so maybe they're accurate. I don't know much about ICP, so you'd have to fill me in. Sorry, guys, I caused a delay today. Hey, yeah, Philippe and I were on a phone call, so definitely Philippe's fault. So write some angry letters on Discord. Make sure you DM him so that he knows he should never do that again. No worries, Philippe. Hi, Kevin. How would you try, if you had to convince a conservative thinking adult to invest in crypto? I can't say I have to do this, but I end up doing this all the time. Because everywhere I go, when I'm asked what I do, if I'm sitting down having dinner, If I meet some new people, there's always that question, where are you from? What do you do? And then usually their eyes glass over. What do you do? Well, I work in aerospace technologies, whatever. I don't know. People just don't really care. You can tell they don't care as soon as they ask the question. But every now and again, and especially now in the current climate, I say, well, I'm in the crypto sector. Like, oh, crypto, I've heard about those Shiba Inu tokens. And then, of course, my eye starts to twitch, and I start going off on how Shiba Inu is fucking nonsense. And then that leads me down this whole rabbit hole. And you've seen the memes where somebody's, rattling off in some girl's ear about some nonsense about crypto, and her eyes are glazing over. Yeah, I try not to do that, but sometimes that is me, and I do apologize for anybody I've done that to. Anyway, so to convince a conservative adult, I just did a little spiel about, traditionally speaking, in times of global economic and/or political crises, you would see money running into safe haven assets, which historically have been currencies like the US dollar, the Swiss franc, the Japanese yen. However, now, and gold and silver, obviously. Gold generally, anytime there was war, would get a spike because, well, they want an asset that is not necessarily risky, that can basically maintain their value of their assets over time. Store of value, like many people call Bitcoin at this point. If you compare the last 4 or 5 global there's been one global economic crisis. We all know what that is. Keep your masks on, guys. You don't want to lose your wallet. So there's been, if you compare the global economic crisis we're currently seeing, plus any type of macro political or economic crisis that's happened in the last 20 years, check to see the prices of gold, check to see more or less the buying power of any of these fiat currencies, and compare them to both pre and post-crisis, and then compare them year on year after, post-crisis as well. You'll see that they actually lose value. They're not gaining value. Gold is not gaining value. Gold was $900 in the 80s. In the 80s, think about the inflation that was, to buy a house in the 80s, you paid 20%, 20% interest. So if you compare that to the price now, gold has lost value over time. Yes, it's lost less value than the US dollar, the Swiss franc, and the Japanese yen, but it's still lost value. Now compare over the last 13 years, because we can't go back to the 80s with Bitcoin, it didn't exist, but compare over the last 13, 14 years, Bitcoin. Look how it's adjusted to crisis. Look how it's adjusted to any macroeconomic, microeconomic, macro global political, micro political, regional, whatever crisis. And you'll see that it continues to rise in value. So why would you choose an asset that, okay, has been around a long time? You probably think it's intrinsic. You can touch it. For some reason, conservatives think that if you can touch something, it has value. Well, the last time I checked, you can hold a piece of shit in your hand, but you can tell me how much value that has. To me, shit has very little value. Now, maybe if I was a farmer, maybe I think a bit different, but you can hold a lot of stuff in your hand, a lot of stuff, tangible stuff that has no value and will not increase in value over time, like the dollar. The fact that you can't hold it doesn't mean it doesn't have value. There's lots of value in things you can't hold. So yeah, I think I generally go down that track, but there's a lot of tracks to go down, to be honest. That's only one of them. Can you tell us what the 6 million XCM raised for the equity offer will be used for? Well, that XCM will be in treasury. The idea is to help support staking, also help to support new initiatives, also to help maintain treasury once the bonds expire. Because obviously bonds expiring could lead up to 12.5 million XCM coming back into the market. It could also lead to everybody going to equity. I guess it really depends. I think we're going to see roughly a 60-40 split between equity and XCM. But again, it's also there to ensure that as we're kind of spending XCM on other things, that we can still support everything that we've promised in the past and everything that's coming in the future. At some point, we will get to a point where we will burn all XCM in treasury. That's going to happen at some point. We're not there yet because we're not a profitable month-on-month business as of yet. When we get there, there will be a point. Maybe that'll happen in 2023. Maybe it's happened in 2024. I don't know. There will be a point. There will be a massive XCM burn where anything we have we're going to go ahead and burn, because we know that on a monthly basis, we're recouping X amount of XCM based on not just exchange, but some other stuff. Tokenomics 2.0, it's coming. Lots of cool stuff happening in Tokenomics 2.0. Buenos dias, Senor Kevin. Hi, big guy. How are you? CM charges fees and assets, not always the paired fiat value. What does CM do with these assets since you don't trade against your customers? Well, those assets, first of all, when we, on the exchange, for example, we always receive money in whatever the quote currency is. So if you're trading, BTC USD, we get our fees in BTC. If you're trading, that's just a base currency, sorry. If you're trading, not the quote currency, that would be USD in that case, then we get paid in BTC. If you're trading ETH, LTC, we get paid in ETH. But immediately we take that fee, well, not immediately, but during the week, we take that fee and we buy XCM with the entire value. And then 50% of that has been historically vaulted. There are fees, though, from other services that we do collect different assets. And what happens is that we have, think about Coinmetro, think about what Coinmetro does. We have assets under management of clients. That's what you have in your wallets. Then we have our own assets. So we basically have a system on our side that breaks down platform value, how much actually exists on the platform, what we owe our clients, how much we actually hold in wallets. There's always a difference. It's always positive. When it's positive, we go through on a semi-regular basis and liquidate those assets against our liquidity providers. We don't trade against our clients to liquidate those assets. We simply trade with the liquidity provider directly. On occasion, we do add orders to our own book as limit orders, adding liquidity into the system rather than taking it away. Any news regarding the Mexican office you can share with us? Well, that's why I'm here. So that there was a few delays in getting things started. It is Mexico, so par for the course. But there were a few delays. Having said that, they've gone into the office as of last week. They've been doing measurements. They've been making, marking up the walls, making sure they order the right amount of materials. Materials are coming in next week, and officially next week they'll start making noise, meaning knocking down walls, bringing in material, and starting to actually do the work. Roughly 9.5 weeks from today, the office will be done and ready to roll. So definitely some progress. I'm actually going today, right after the AMA, I got to run to the electric company so I can finally file the paperwork to get light in the office, electricity in the office. Quite a process here when you need to get triple phase electricity for a commercial building or commercial office. It's a bit of a nightmare. I could show you the paper stack. It's about yay big, and took about 2.5 months to get to this point. So. Viva Mexico. Hereby, Flux is just a database. Okay, we're not going to comment on this one because I have to look at ICP or IPC or whatever it was, ICP. Hi, Kevin. Tokenomics and staking update release March 1st, question mark. Hey, Moni. March 1st. You might see it before March 1st, maybe. Just a little flutter of information from me to you. You may see it before March 1st. There will be different pieces of releases about tokenomics. We'll have like tokenomics 2.0, 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, 2.4. The goal is to create the best tokenomics in the industry, bar none, probably by 3.4 or something like that. Maybe even before that. To be honest, our tokenomics are nowhere near the worst right now. I would say they're closer to the best than the worst. And I think over the next few releases, there's going to be a clear winner, especially in the exchange market. Do you think the ongoing hype for NFTs, this is from Michael L., is sucking the liquidity out of the rest of the crypto market? Most of the funds going into the NFT sector just stay there. Did NFT kill the crypto star? No, not at all. First of all, to buy NFTs, you got to buy crypto, right? You're not paying for an NFT with dollars or gold. Peter Schiff isn't rolling up with a ton of gold in the back of a pickup truck buying Bored Apes. So he has to take his gold, liquidate it to some actual spendable currency, and then go ahead and buy Bitcoin on exchange, or Bitcoin or Ethereum. Well, buy Bitcoin, then change it to Ethereum, or just buy Ethereum, or or buy Cadena to go on Marmalade, or buy whatever Solana to go on whatever NFT marketplace is on Solana. So no, I would look at NFTs just like I would look at ICOs in many ways. The NFT sector is still crypto, so they still have to buy crypto to get in. Yes, they may be exchange. They may just be moving one NFT to buy another, or but they're still moving crypto. Yes, it may not involve an exchange at this point, but I don't think that really is pulling so much liquidity out of the underlying market, because in most cases you will have these kind of wash trading circles, just like you have wash trading in crypto. That's why most of the volume is absolute bullshit. Keep that in mind. But you'll have wash trading circles that wash trade between NFTs. So for example, I make a forehead NFT, let's just say, and I put it up for sale. Unfortunately, people don't like the shine of the forehead. They don't want to buy my NFT, but no worries. I just go and create another address and I buy my forehead NFT anonymously, of course, anonymously, for 150 ETH. And then I make an announcement, a PR announcement. Kevin Murcko, CEO of Coinmetro, sells shiny forehead NFT for 150 ETH. And then I say, it's really humbling to see how many people love the forehead. And the PR goes out, and then somebody goes, oh man, that's an awesome NFT of a shiny forehead. I also have a shiny forehead. I would pay 180 for that. And then some dude comes and offers me 180, and I go, well, I really love the shiny forehead NFT. Of course, it's not me. This is the anonymous me. Anyway, this stuff happens a lot in NFTs. It also happens a lot in the crypto market. Many of the wash traders, though, may have moved from wash trading in crypto to wash trading in NFTs. I wouldn't see that as a loss of volume. I just see that as a loss of silliness, and I'm glad to see it go. So I don't think so. Crypto has look, NFTs have so much more value than scribbly lines in a GIF or a Bored Ape smoking a cigarette with an eye patch. There's no real value in that. At the end of the day, NFTs, non-fungibles, have a massive value, and we will see that over the coming years. You will see what NFTs can do, not just with, membership into a yacht club that doesn't have any, well, they might have some yachts, but they don't necessarily meet at a club where yachts are, as far as I know. So you will see that happen, but crypto has so many use cases at this point. It's so dynamic. One thing like NFTs, which are also crypto, is not going to derail the overall kind of exchange volume that happens in crypto. There's more people coming in the market every day, and that's not going to change, even though it may fluctuate. Can you see Russia using BTC to circumvent sanctions? Is this problematic? Well, you should find it a bit odd that just recently, before the invasion of Ukraine, they said that Bitcoin wasn't illegal. Also, which is even more odd, is Ukraine, days before the invasion, it's all days, it could be 20 years, it's still days, right? But roughly about 2 weeks, a week and a half, something like that, before the invasion, which they, I believe, knew was going to happen. I mean, not that they were orchestrating it themselves or it was some type of inside job, but there should have been the expectation that this was probably going to happen in Ukraine, especially from the powers that be. They also made, out of nowhere, BTC legal as a way to move funds. So I think that may have been a way for them to raise money, maybe, or bring money into the country to help the defense. I don't know, but it could also be, if you want to put your tinfoil hat on, which really should be a lead hat, by the way, because if you're really crazy, put the lead hat on. That's going to block all the gamma rays better than tinfoil. I mean, you might get cancer of the head, but you're already wearing the hat anyway. So, point being, that seems, if you have your conspiracy hat on, that maybe Russia pushed them to do that because they knew they were going to be taking over the country and they knew they were going to have to get around sanctions. Or Ukraine did it because now, unfortunately, because Ukraine has been invaded by Russia, Russia's now sanctioned. Ukraine citizens will probably become sanctioned. Belarus citizens are now sanctioned because they aided and abetted in the invasion by allowing troops to go through their country, Russian troops. And so, maybe it's not the best thing to avoid getting caught, though, because Bitcoin, being pseudo-anonymous, can be traced back. A lot of data on that blockchain. But yeah, there is a few question marks in my head around the events that led up with BTC that led up to the invasion. They shift from a self-service platform to a more B2B. Okay, we're still talking about ICP or something. In line with the recent equity offer, I'm curious what type of company CM categorizes itself. Is it a corporation or a partnership? Well, no matter how many shareholders you have, it only depends on your structure. And we are an OU in Estonia. Ooh. I still can't pronounce that letter, but I like to make funny pronunciations of it, which probably upsets Estonians, but they don't tell me, so I just keep doing it. Once they tell me, I'll stop, I promise. So anyway, the OU company is basically similar to a limited liability company. So it is more a corporation than a partnership. even if we had 1 million shareholders, there might be some limitation, but even if we had, whatever amount of shareholders, it wouldn't make it a partnership. Now, in the way it feels, I think we've always run the company as if it were one big partnership. We take a lot of feedback, not only from shareholders, from token holders, from clients. We try to take that feedback. We try to, use it and use it for good and make good changes, et cetera, et cetera. So I think in that aspect, we've always kind of been more of a partnership. But in reality, from a legal standpoint, it's a corporation. Is that a plate on the wall? Yeah, this is a hotel, guys. It's not my plate. I do have a house here in Mexico, but it's under renovation. And so, yeah, I'm in a hotel, which has plates on the wall. Actually has a skull over here and some other random stuff, like it has ceramic baby shoes, which was kind of creepy when I walked into the room, but to each his own. I mean, if you like ceramic baby shoes, great. Hi, Kevin. Have a great weekend. I saw CM blog post on UST staking on Anchor protocol. Is something like that coming soon or sooner, or Coinmetro, or was it only a hint? Well, I think it was just talking about, look, you can use UST on Coinmetro. Oh, and by the way, it's really easy to earn some yield on it. We do have a yielding platform that we call Earn, and we do have now native Terra assets. Putting one-to-one together, I have to tell you that at some point in the future, we will be offering some type of yielding asset on the Terra ecosystem. That's for sure. How did you come up with the current valuation? Will you provide interested investors with a prospectus before the deadline to have a look at the docs? Well, I believe so. In terms of, if you're talking about, if you're talking about the XCM raise, it's done and dusted. So, but I can give you information on the valuation. Absolutely. So how we came up with the valuation. In previous rounds, which we did at the beginning of last year, the valuation methodology was different. It wasn't your standard valuation methodology. Well, it was standard for companies that really don't have much revenue, right? So what we did was we took our IP, the amount we spent to build the IP with a standard multiplier, which is usually somewhere between 2 and 10, though most revolve around 2 and 5, or 2 and 20, sorry, but most are somewhere between 2 and 10. We then took the projected revenues that we saw that we expected to have in the next 3 years. Based on those two sets of numbers, we came up with a valuation. Now we have enough revenue and enough data to use a run rate valuation. How does run rate work? Everybody in the fintech sector that's raised money in the last 6, 12, 18 months have all used run rate methodologies. You take your monthly reoccurring revenue, usually take your highest monthly reoccurring revenue in the preceding year. You then get your yearly reoccurring revenue based on that monthly reoccurring revenue. So sometimes companies will even project yearly reoccurring based on the highest monthly reoccurring at a +10, +15, +8% month-on-month increase. But anyway, you get your yearly reoccurring revenue, and then you have a mother multiplier. That multiplier currently in the fintech space is between 15 and 55x. Coinbase, for example, is comparatively speaking to their revenues, their yearly reoccurring revenue, and their market cap is a 30x, for example. Other companies like FTX have used similar run rate methodologies, but I think FTX is at 45x when they raise money. So for us, our highest revenue last year was in November. Without staking revenue was 800,000 euro. Now the staking revenue was another 250 to 300,000, but without even taking that into account, you take 800,000, you multiply that by 12, that's 9.6 million. You take a conservative multiplier, which would be around 20, you already have, well, that's already close to 200. It's 198 million, I believe, right? 192 million. Yeah, 192 million, right? Yeah, 9.6 would be 180 plus another 12. Yeah, 192. So the 192 million would be the valuation based on the run rate method, a conservative run rate methodology that almost every other fintech company has used in raising money in the last months, a little over a year. And so that's how we got it. And we discounted it. We discounted it to 180. Why 180? Last valuation in the beginning of last year was 60 million. This one's 180. We're shooting for over 500,000 at the end of the year in our Series A round. That'll be a 3x to 180, another 3x to roughly 540. So that's how we came up. As far as, let me come with the valuation. As far as prospectus, if you're interested in investing, we do have a cash raise that will go on in tandem. Well, not in tandem anymore because the XCM raise sold out. You can get in touch with us, and we can definitely provide you with more information. When XCM 10 euros? Well, probably right after it's 9.99, but you know, I don't have a crystal ball. But in terms of company growth, I think that it could be realistic at any point. We all know how crypto works. In terms of the size of the company grew by, well, it depends on the metric you look at. But if you look just at the volumes are 100 times more than they were at the beginning of last year till now, till the end of last year. The amount of overall client growth was, when we average out, it was about 3x, which also coincides with the valuation. Makes a lot of sense. The token value went up by 20x. But 20x is still within the metrics between number of clients, number of verified clients, percentage ratios, is an average rough ratio of the growth we saw last year, 20x. So seeing that same growth, let's say again this year, would put the token already above 10 euros at the end of the year. So I think it's possible that we see the token around those figures by the end of the year. But depending on what this year looks like, both geopolitically, plus you know, maybe we have dodecahedron, you know, COVID, and everybody has to wear 12 masks and an eye patch, and you know, I don't know, something else. I walk around with like a bag of glucose, you know, because science. Depending on what happens in the world, we may very well see a delay in maybe we don't see a 20x growth, maybe we see a 10x growth, maybe we see an 8x growth, maybe we see a 30x growth. It's hard to tell from a fundamental standpoint, meaning external fundamentals. From internal fundamentals, I think we go 20x very easily, which means by the end of the year, we potentially see over that 10 euros. Would you consider doing a trading course as a special YouTube event? I think there could be a lot of interest for that, and it would increase volume. Absolutely, I'd be interested. I would be ready, willing, and able if that was something people wanted me to do. I think it would be fun. When linking checking accounts for funding, CM requires SSN, but does not appear secure, i.e. high risk of SSN hack. Please clarify. I'd have to actually go through the process. I know that that the front end, if you're on the front end in terms of the website itself, it's going to default to HTTPS. When you're in the back end, if you are seeing a pop-up that appears not to be on HTTPS, there's still, you know, like an S-tunnel type connection between all of the systems that we use. So the information is still secure. And I know when we transmit that information to our banking partner, it absolutely goes over a secure connection. But if you have specifics, or if you want us to dig into that, please get in touch with support, send us your information, and they can liaise directly with, you know, with kind of sysops to be able to give you more information. Hey, Kevin, have you heard of Seesaw Protocol? And if so, what are your thoughts on it? Cool wall decoration in the background, by the way. Thanks, not mine, but I haven't yet. I may have heard of it, but I can't say that I know much about it. So I would need some information to give an opinion. Right now, Ukrainian crypto volumes are surging, but no sign of change on crypto activity in Russia. War hedge? Well, Russians are having a hard time right now with accounts because they're getting shut down left, right, and center because there has been massive sanctions raised against Russia. So even their citizens now can't open accounts. Ukrainian citizens still are able to open accounts, but that may change. That's probably why you see the difference in volumes. Is Estonia safe? Coinmetro, et cetera. Thanks, Kevin. Stay safe. Yeah, Dan, look, I have no worries. I'm currently in Mexico, by the way. But I will be back in Estonia by Wednesday next week. If I thought it was unsafe, I would pull my family out and I would do whatever I could to help Coinmetro, if Coinmetro's employees in Estonia, if they wanted to get out of the country. I don't see us there yet, and I'll tell you why. Well, there's a lot of reasons why. The main reason is Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Finland, et cetera, all part of NATO. There's a Article 5 in NATO. Article 4 has already been breached. Article 4 is basically putting NATO on high alert. Article 5 is when a country encroaches, invades into any NATO country. NATO, Article 5 says that they all come together and show their force, which would mean World War III, essentially. I don't see Russia's ambitions getting us into a World War III as of yet. I don't see it ever happening, to be honest. And I know there's already talk. People are like, "Oh my God, there's war in Europe again." I never thought I would see this again. I don't, without coming across as crass or, you know, literally with no empathy. I think the writing on the wall for this has been there for almost a decade. After Crimea, before Crimea, And you know, even Georgia, even the president of Georgia had said that the world needed to pay close attention because something was going to happen. I think the powers that be knew something like this was going to happen. I think they tried to play a little brinksmanship with Russia and they lost. So we'll have to see how it continues. You know, obviously everybody feels bad for Ukrainian citizens and Russian citizens for that matter that play really no part in any of this. It's just kind of like a big, I was going to say something. I don't want to say what I was going to say, but it's like a macho standoff, and everybody gets affected, which is terrible. But yeah, we're safe. Everybody is safe. Thank you very much for that. I'm sure everybody will appreciate that in the office as well. If we see that there's a reason, we will move. It won't affect the company. The company being in Estonia or all remote or in wherever is not going to affect the way we're able to provide services. So all good. Laugh out loud. Awesome. What do you think of FTX giving all Ukrainian customers $25? Have you considered doing something similar at Coinmetro? Well, the problem with that, first of all, FTX has a lot of money. Let's just be blunt and a little crude. They could have given a lot more to every Ukrainian citizen. That's not all Ukrainian, well, not all citizens, obviously, all customers. They could have given a lot more. They chose 25 for whatever reason. There probably will be sanctions levied against Ukraine as well, depending on how much the Russia invasion causes a shift in the Ukrainian government. If that happens, giving money to Ukraine would be a violation of FATF, OFAC, etc., and lead to potential legal and regulatory issues. So we couldn't do something like that even if we wanted to, unfortunately. I think it's from a high level, it's a nice gesture. Obviously trying to get a bit of PR, taking a bit of advantage of the situation, which isn't such of a nice gesture. And they also have the money to do it, which, you know, we need to spend our money to grow the business so that we can do really cool things in the future like that. Yo, Kevin, what happened to your head? I don't know. What happened? Something happened to my head? All the hair is gone. Yeah, the hair, single, not plural. Yeah, I had this thing called the haircut. Yeah, it's revolutionary, man. You should try it someday. Given your funny voices sound like Bill Burr. Yeah, I get that a lot. Well, you know, but I did that before Bill Burr, to be honest. I didn't patent it. Shit. Kevin, should I buy more XCM or an engagement ring for my girlfriend? That's an easy answer. If your girlfriend gets upset that you bought XCM instead of the engagement ring, telling her how much, you know, how much potential it has, then, you know, not sure about that girlfriend, man. Seriously. No, but honestly, look, if you love your girlfriend, you want to get engaged, that's a good investment, my friend. I don't know if it's as good as XCM, but happy wife, happy life. So, you know, it's a hard decision, But if you go and give her the ultimatum, say, I have an engagement ring here for you. It's a really cool token called XCM. And if she goes, pick what you want, hon, give her the fucking engagement ring, man. Right on. Throw it on the finger, get married. You found the good one. How large is the current marketing team, and are you currently expanding it? Marketing and growth currently, 4 people, I believe. And yes, currently expanding, hiring for multiple roles in both divisions of growth and marketing. Which quarter do you plan on marketing CM, and are you planning on putting marketing efforts toward USA? Which quarter? So we started with advertising in December. We got hit with this wave of fraudulent accounts, which caused us to pull that money out of marketing because it made no sense, because we had to induce different changes, like only passport for a while in the US and et cetera. And the US is one of the markets that we can advertise in quite easily. We are now able to advertise in some other markets as well in Europe, but US, we are approved to advertise in the US on certain platforms. So by the end of March, we will have a case handling system and a completely new compliance policies, which will help us completely streamline, again, our onboarding process. At that point, we will start to throw the money back into marketing. So that would lead us into Q2. And yes, we will have some advertising, not necessarily targeting the US, but definitely talking about features that are accessible from the US. What is Coinmetro's current direction? Are you still aiming to be a big crypto exchange, or are you more focusing on neobanking and staking different assets? Well, to me, we never were focused on being a big crypto exchange. We were focused on being an access point to opportunities that people otherwise wouldn't be able to access in the traditional financial markets. And that hasn't changed. So crypto exchange is part of that. But the realization that most people aren't traders, most people never will be traders. Most people will come in just like they would into equities and buy a stock and hold it. So finding ways for them to be able to monetize more efficiently that investment, whether that be through staking, bonding, liquidity pools, lending, all types of passive income opportunities, and then being able to access those when they need through the neobanking, and still being able to access trading, even if they're not a trader, through copy trader, and still being able to trade on the occasion when they think that they might be good at it. All those things under the same roof, plus a lot more. So it's not really any of those, but it's all of those at the same time. It's not going to be on April Fool's Day, whatever is supposed to be on April Fool's Day. So. Hey, Kevin, do you wear socks in that hot Mexican climate? Nice question, Bjorn. Currently, no. Well, I did for at least a day. I mean, I lived here for 20 years. So plus it's not that hot right now. It's only like 28, 29. I think it was 31 maybe one of the days I've been here, which, you know, I lived here for years. So even though I don't live here now, I acclimate really quickly back to a warm climate. I can wear I can wear a jacket, you know, a sweatshirt and still be okay. Don't even sweat. And that's partially because I got into sauna culture in Estonia. I can sit if I sit in a sauna at 100, it takes me about 10 to 12 minutes just to sweat. 100 Celsius, by the way, for people keeping track. Not Fahrenheit. Celsius. Real heat. Real heat. Yeah, so I do wear socks, or I probably won't today though. I have like these Sockless shoes. I actually bought them in Estonia. It's an Italian company, which sounds like it's Japanese. They're wraparound shoes. I forget the name of it. I forget the name of the company. Anyway, they're really cool for hot climates. You've said before that you're currently not focused on biz dev. Once you get started again, what will be your focus? Probably a lot around passive income stuff will be the main focus. Also on getting some really cool new listings and partnerships. And also tied into our raise and looking to get money from not only VCs, but also foundations and stuff from protocols and different companies that we already do business with. Mayor, why would you ask such a useless question? Okay. How dare you use my name? Oh boy. It's getting crazy in here. Hoo me banana. Nice to see you. I've gone way over the 30 minutes again. I always do this. I don't know what's wrong with me. Hi, Kevin. There have been lawsuits against Celeb, which regards to shilling bogus crypto or NFT projects. In your opinion, has the first right step towards rightful regulation and progress? Well, we had a lot of steps. It's not the first. Actually, there's been lawsuits levied against celebrities back in the McAfee days. So it's not really anything new. I think it is a right step, but it's also a bit ridiculous in the fact that there's still not any clear regulatory path for much of this stuff, even in the US. But they're still clear to apply the law when they feel they can get a conviction for things like market manipulation or not insider trading yet, as far as I know. But you know, shilling things without telling people you own them, which are applied to regulated assets, which these aren't. So it's a bit disingenuous for regulators as well as, you know, the enforcement agencies to go after people and apply laws that are akin to regulations that don't apply to the current market. So, but yeah, all these things are kind of right steps in different ways, shapes, and forms. Parsec shifts from a self-service platform to, that's what somebody's mentioned before, to a more B2B focused, sorry, the Medium link. Yeah, look, I think self-service platforms are amazing. They're much harder to market, and you have to have many more clients, meaning you will spend lots of money to get clients that churn in and out, and you're constantly spending money on marketing. B2B, all you need is a small handful of clients that are loyal to you, and you make the same amount of money that you have with millions of clients. The same reason why most exchanges, brokers, et cetera, in finance if they start retail, after so many years, they convert to institutional. We won't do that, by the way. We may have institutional business. I suspect we will at some point. You could even say we have a bit now, but I am a retail focused person. I want to help the people that usually don't get helped. I think that's a major hole in finance. The B2B guys, at least in our business, get everything they need. They don't need anything else from us, but everybody else is who we want to service. But yeah, it makes sense in the progression of their business. They realized, and they could have asked me about this from the beginning, and I would have actually, anyway, I did give them some information about their self-service platform. I had a lot of conversations initially to help them, at least as much as I could, in how to guide them with the product. But definitely it costs a lot of money to run a retail-focused platform. Absolutely. When offering staking programs for various coins, what kind of tests or comparisons do you make with other companies that offer competitive staking returns? Well, if you notice, most of the things we offer aren't offered anywhere else. So there is no real comparison to make other than the fact that we want to offer these things that no one else can offer. When we start to offer staking plans that other companies offer, it's really about, one is about ease of use. One is about the fact that our client base holds the assets with us anyway. So why would they move them if they weren't getting anything for them already, if they're getting something now? We do want to be competitive. To be competitive on some assets like Bitcoin, Ethereum, et cetera, we need to have much more assets under management. So we'll only get there as we grow. You know, our goal is to kind of earn less per product over time to earn more. That's kind of what Amazon did. Amazon, I forget what the Jeff Bezos saying, but it was something like, we want to charge less to earn more. And that's exactly what our idea is that as we grow, we want to have lots of products, lots of services where we're making money, but we want to make less money per product and service, but more money overall. I'm going to take a few more questions and then we're out, guys. Might be a dumb question. Why have both XCM and equity? Can't you just have XCM? Sure, you could just have XCM. But there is a diversification there. XCM can grow in value, not related to how the company grows in value. At some point, the company's valuation will go parabolic. That doesn't necessarily mean that XCM will go parabolic in the same time frame. Also, when you're an equity holder, you have access to certain information that token holders don't have access to. There's shareholders meetings. You're able to talk there. You're able to see what we're voting on. You're able to get more access to numbers and understand really what's happening behind the scenes in the company without having to ask me questions every week. And so there is a different aspect to it, owning something, owning a piece of the company versus owning the utility token that the company uses to drive its services. There are differences there. And some people like more the speculative idea of XCM. Some people like more holding the equity. Some people like to diversify between both. I'm wondering the same thing, unless there's a difference in how it's taxed. But as far as I know, that's not how. Whatever. I think you can attend shareholder meetings. Yeah, you definitely can attend shareholder meetings. That's one of the perks for sure. How it's taxed? Yep, there definitely is in different jurisdictions, different taxes. For instance, on dividends paid to a shareholder versus when you cash out from a token, which can be considered income. So there could be a vast difference between how it's taxed as well. Good point. Two more questions, guys. If the coin value keeps falling, should I sell or continue staking? Well, that's up to you. Look, if you look around the rest of the market and see what's happening on just a global political scale, everything fell. But if you look at crypto over time, look at XCM over time. XCM fell a lot of times in 2019, 2020. Look where we are now, comparatively speaking, even to the ICO price, but definitely the prices we saw at the beginning of last year. You're still 25x above where we were. And we're already rising back from the recent low we saw after the Ukraine invasion. So it's up to you. Look, if you're in crypto and volatility scares you, you should probably get out of crypto. Because the market, especially in micro caps, small caps, will continue to be this volatile or close to this volatile for years to come. Bitcoin, Ethereum will become less volatile over time. That's where a lot of liquidity is. But micro and small caps, aren't going to lose that volatility. Have you ever visited USA? I'm from the US. I lived there for the first 18 years or so of my life. I haven't lived there for over 20 something years, but I visit very frequently. My mother's there, my father's there. I bring my daughter famously to Disney World at least once or twice a year. We're going at the end of April, by the way. So if you happen to be in Disney at the end of April, see you there. What can help whales price action long-term? More adaptation of their platform, which I think they will see because they have a lot of really talented people there really doing really cool things. I'm going to leave it there, guys. We're about close to 50 minutes in. I'm supposed to do 30 now, but I just like you guys so much that I stick around way too long. So I got to prepare for my next meeting, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. I thank everybody for coming here. It is the weekend. It's Friday. If you are around family virtually or physically, make sure you spend a bit of time with them. Try not to roll your eyes too much. It's a bit obnoxious. And of course, when you're with them, make sure you mention XCM at least 17 times. That's the key number, as far as I know, for someone to realize how great XCM is. It's 17 times. You can do it all in a row, even though it's a bit weird, or you can just scream out XCM randomly throughout those conversations. Haven't said this one in a while, but don't pay attention to markets this weekend. Have a good weekend, de-stress a little bit. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on in the world, but I think a lot of the stuff's going on in the world is only going to be beneficial to an asset class. And I've never said asset class before for crypto, but I'm going to say it now. Asset class, like crypto in general, people are starting to wake up to how the world works, how the game works, how they can play the game. And you can't really play the game in the traditional market without knowing someone or having those 7, 8, 9 zeros at the end of your bank account, or actually before the decimal point, by the way, not after. But they're starting to realize that they can play the game inside of these markets and they can do well. And they're starting to understand what inflation is, what money is, and what fiat is. And all those things are leading people to understand that this is the place to be. But during times of volatility, always remember that people say they're going to do something and they usually do the opposite. So don't pay attention to charts this weekend, maybe not even for the next few weeks. De-stress a little bit. Crypto will come back. We're not going anywhere. Have a great weekend, everybody, and talk to you soon. Tag me on Telegram at Kevin Murcko. You can tweet me on Twitter at Kevin Murcko. You can hit me up on Discord. However they do it on Discord, Kevin Murcko, and my server number is 4888888. See you guys here next week and on all those different platforms whenever. Cheers.